No sound. Okay, now there's sound. Oh, there you go. I appreciate it. Yeah. All right. All right. All right. Now there's sound. Let me do that again. Thank you guys for joining us this Thursday. It's just me tonight. Denise is not here. Denise is at an important function in the city. Something that she couldn't miss. She had to be there. So it's going to be me tonight. And these two blobs we have here. But this is a Thursday night chat. This is where we discuss Anime Matsuri. Right? And Anime Matsuri 2021. July 8th through the 11th of next year at the George R. Brown Convention Center here in downtown Houston. And it's a weekend where we celebrate anime, Japanese pop culture, and everything else related. It's a fun weekend. Awesome. Yes, thank you for joining us. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. It's a rather chilly evening. It's been cold for the past couple of days, right? It's been raining here. I don't know where everyone is, but here in Houston, it's been raining. Actually, it's been raining for a few days. It's been cold. I think tonight it's going to get into the 50s or 40s or something. I don't know. It's going to get cold, but I like the cold, so I'm fine. It's okay. I don't know about you guys. So what you guys have you guys been up to? How have you guys been? Has everyone had a good week so far? Everything is looking good on our end. We are, let me see. The convention is moving forward very, very fast. And there's been tons and tons of good news. As a matter of fact, for the past week, this week has been very, very crazy. There's been a lot of meetings and a lot of new developments. They just to paint a picture, the events, special events, permitting and parades part of the city has been shut down because of the pandemic, and literally they're just reopening. Things are just reopening in the city. So you can imagine there's a bunch of things which we would have done on a normal year literally like 2 months ago, but everything kind of piled up. And starting this week, we started the process, and there's been so much stuff. It's paperwork and going back and forth, and all that stuff was crammed. So this week was literally nonstop. And we were planning, we have some very exciting announcements, but first we had to take care of all of this stuff that had to do with authorizations and permitting and just the city, right? And this is still ongoing. It's gonna be an amazing year. Watch and see. Yep. It's gonna be awesome. So we've been having a bunch of meetings, right? So if you were here last weekend, then you know some of the things we're working on. Like, you know about the night festival, you know about the parade, and these things are pretty big. Each thing in itself is just, it's like a separate event. I mean, they're all connected and it's all part of the convention, but I'm saying as from the logistical standpoint and operations, it's like a different event. Each one has its own dedicated team, and I mean, it's just, they're just big projects on their own. So we had to have a bunch of proposals made, and there was just many things we talked about. And speaking of which, so just to catch everybody up, like if you weren't here last weekend, we discussed a parade during the Anime Matsuri weekend. This thing has been driving us insane. Just the undertaking is really, really big. And Usually a parade, like a citywide parade, a parade as big as that, just take for example, like the Thanksgiving parade, or just any parade that's big downtown. It takes a year to just plan. It takes a year. When you're creating floats, that takes a long time. It's expensive, and then from the city point of view, it just takes a long time. We have 6 months, and we are moving forward. So if you, the planning has been going on for a while, but I'm saying the permitting and the paperwork and all just literally just started. So this gives us 6 months of preparation. So in 6 months, we're trying to pull off what would normally take an entire year. The good thing is we have a good team. We have such a dedicated team of people, and the staff is pretty awesome. And we are quite confident. Everything has been moving forward so fast. The last 2 weeks has been probably some of the craziest 2 weeks we've had the entire year. But we're going to make it. We're going to push everything. We're pushing everything forward, and everything's going pretty well. Now let me show you something real quick. Like just so remember, last week we showed this right here is the proposed route for the parade that we're talking about. So this right here, this part in the middle right here, that's the George R. Brown Convention Center. So we were proposing to start in the back and then go left, right? And then make another left, and then make another left, and come down all the way down Avenida in front of the convention center, or between the convention center and the park, right? And go all the way down, and then make a right here on Polk, and then go all the way around the park, and then come back again. And then the floats, would be left on Discovery Green for the rest of the weekend, and then everything else would go back into the parking lot in the back of the convention center, right? This is what we proposed. Now, a parade is no small feat, because there's many things involved when you're making the route. For example, there's street lights, there is power cables. And when you talk about, if you're going to, so just imagine, if you're going to pull a big balloon, you have to have the entire route clear, right? So the city usually prepares a route themselves, which is what they use, or what they would use for any kind of parade. And I'll show you an example. So this right here, this is what the city usually does. This is their proposed parade route. But as you can see right here, this doesn't go anywhere near the convention center, right? So we would have the all clear for this route. This route is already prepped. If we were to take this parade to the convention center or to Discovery Green, because the whole idea is the floats, whenever the parade is over, like whenever we do the parade, we would leave the floats on Discovery Green, so people can get close to them. You can take pictures, or just for the rest of the weekend. That's the point. But to get the floats from here to Discovery Green, that in itself is a challenge. And as you can imagine, none of this stuff is straightforward, easy. It's complicated. So a lot of stuff has to be figured out of how that is going to work, right? And this is just one example of just complications. Now, for anyone asking, if you're asking, so for example, can the parade just be on this route? Yes, it can. However, again, when it's all said and done, we would still like to have the floats accessible to the attendees of the convention to just check out and take pictures, because they're going to be really cool. And wait till you guys hear what the theme of this thing is. Right? So, so there's that. these are the kind of things. These are the kind of things we've been discussing and we've been figuring out. Can it be done? Of course, it can be done. It just takes a lot of preparation. Is what I'm getting at. That's what I'm saying. Right. But let me go back to this route. But usually with these things, you start somewhere and you negotiate and you talk your way through to where it's eventually going to end. So from, the first proposal and then like take 3 or 4 proposals or adjustments later, then you end up with what it will be. But in between these 2 phases, there's a lot of going back and forth. And honestly, just like the convention, so to pull off a convention like Anime Matsuri, the night festival, just the concerts, it's a lot of work and a lot of dedication. If we didn't really love this, then probably it wouldn't even happen, right? But we want it to happen. We want it to happen. We're getting to the point where this pandemic that we're in is slowly going to be over, right? So come, let's say, I don't know, February, March, April, maybe, it'll be over. But at that time, it's too late to start working on anything or any event that so if we're going to have an event in summer, in July, or even August, or just that time frame in the summer, anyway in the summer, you got to start working on it, because it'll be too late to wait for the whole thing to be over, or for the vaccines to go around, or whatever it is they're planning. So which is why we're into this right now, big time, so we can get the hard part, at least those parts, the challenging parts, out of the way, and those parts done. So by the time we can move more freely, at least all of the complicated things, or the harder things, are sort of moving already. If that makes any sense. Yeah. Oh, and hello everyone that's saying good evening. Yes, hello. Hey, what's up? Hey, Diana. Yeah, Denise is not here tonight. Denise is at an event, at an important event, and she will be back in about 30 minutes. But just she's been just busy all day, just back and forth. That woman is Superwoman. Yeah. Okay. So that's the update on that. And I think that I'm thinking in the next 2 weeks, we would have an updated route of the parade. I think in 2 weeks from now. So that should be, that should be pretty awesome. Okay, now, here's a question, right? Anime Matsuri. So on Friday and Saturday, the convention goes on till 4 in the morning. There's a lot of the night activities, like the concerts, like the Nerdlesque. There's activities that are at night after the exhibit hall closes. Now the exhibit hall closes at 7. And if everything goes the way we would like it to go, the night festival would start at 7 and then end at 11. But then, even after the night festival ends, there's still a bunch of activity till 4, at least for Friday and Saturday, for sure. Now Thursday is K-pop day, and on Thursday we would have the K-pop concert and we have the night festival, and that ends somewhere around 11 or midnight. But Friday and Saturday, it goes up till 4 in the morning. Now there's always tons of people at nighttime, right? We have a couple of years ago, we moved the Nerdlesque show to like 1 a.m. I think was it 1 or 2? Probably 1 a.m. It was between 1 and 3. And at that time, we were wondering, is this too late? Are people like going to be asleep? Or it was packed. There was more people there than we could even. It was packed. So now we are discussing, looking at the schedule. The schedule is getting kind of full. So we want to move the Hentai Fest up at least 1 hour, maybe 2. So that would mean that the Hentai Fest would now start somewhere either 11 p.m. or at midnight. Right? So and that's 1.5 hours. So literally it takes a 2-hour block. So we're talking about between midnight and 2 a.m. or 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. What do you guys think? Is that too late? Is that too late for you guys? Shori Dumb. What is the Nerdlesque show? That is a cosplay burlesque. Did I explain it? As simple as I can say it. Yeah. The Nerdlesque show, the reason why, see, initially we wanted to put it between 2 and 4, but that's really late. The reason we moved it back and it's between 1 and 3 is because it also has drinks, so it has bars. So you know how, well, you know, we got to shut down all the alcohol servings at 2 in the morning. So at least between 1 and 2, the bars are open, so you can buy drinks. But the food trucks outside are there till 4. So that, I mean, if you're hungry. Yeah. So so obviously, I mean, I don't need to say this, but obviously the Nerdlesque and the Hentai Fest, there's a bunch of events around midnight. These events are 18 plus, right? It's 18 plus just to get in. You got to be 18, and if you want to drink, it's 21, right? But that's a separate thing. I'm saying just to even access the event, you have to be 18, and this is very strict. Everyone's carded. So it's not for anyone under 18. There's people under 18 that don't want to sleep and they still want to have fun, and there's other activities. There's so much programming. There's other panels and workshops and stuff with the guests. That's for everybody. But specifically, these events that I'm referring to, the Hentai Fest is 18 plus. Moving the Hentai Fest to midnight, because this, like, we are estimating the Hentai Fest in 2021 will be pretty popular. Just mostly because I've seen the content, and Kaho Shibuya, she's hosting it, and she's pretty hilarious. So it's gonna be fun. But moving it to midnight means it doesn't clash with. We're trying to get it away from a couple of other big events. Also, if you guys have attended the Formal Dance, right, that's also a popular event. Now, that event is open to everybody, right? But there's people that, I'm sure there's a bunch of people that want to do, or at least want to have the option to do the concert, the Formal Dance, the Hentai Fest, and possibly what follows, which we haven't announced yet. But, so if you go to them back to back, you could actually catch all of them. You might be late for 1 or 2, but you can make them, right? As opposed to putting 2 things exactly at the same time, where it becomes, impossible, especially if you want to enjoy one like all the way through. Then you can't make the other. Now, having said all this, it's impossible to attend all the big events and all the panels, because some of them will clash. It's just impossible to do it otherwise, because there's so much going on. B3, the Hentai Fest, we're moving the Hentai Fest from the General Assembly to B3. The General Assembly has a seating capacity of 4,000. B3 has a seating capacity of 7,000 to B3, which opens up the General Assembly for more stuff. The formal dance remains where it is. It's in one of the breakout rooms. And I think the capacity of that is almost 1,500 people. I don't think the formal dance has gotten anywhere near capacity. Well, I mean, there's a lot of people in there, but certainly not to where it's uncomfortable. But still, the point is, give people options, to move around. Because right now, the way we haven't even the panels and the programming we haven't added the extra stuff for Anime Matsuri 2021. We're just going by Anime Matsuri 2020, the things that carried over. And right now, it's sort of getting to that point where it's getting jam-packed. So we're trying to move things around. And it's easier said than done. It's very tricky because when you move something, there's 7 panel rooms, right? Each panel room with its own programming, and not to mention B3, Exhibit Hall A, where the concerts are, and everything that's going on even outside at the night festival. So we got to be very careful how we move things around. No, the Yaoi Fest. So JD, the Yaoi Fest was supposed to premiere this year, as in 2019. Right, and that again, see, that adds another layer of complexity, because if you have the Yaoi Fest and you have the Hentai Fest and you have the Nerdlesque, right? I mean, if you were to pick, right, or you want to be in a position, if they're all happening at the same time, to pick and choose where you want to go. And the other downside to it is this. Is we considered, or if you consider the fact that, let's say, if 3 things are happening at the same time and you want to go, you say, okay, you know what, I'm going to go for the first hour, I'm going to go to the Yaoi Fest, right? Or first 30 minutes. So I'm going to go to Yaoi Fest for 30 minutes. Then I'm going to leave, and then I'm going to go to the Hentai Fest for another 30 minutes or another hour. Then I'm going to leave, and I'm going to go to the Nerd. So if the problem with this is going by statistics from the last couple of years, when an event, so when a main event or any panel, when it gets to capacity, the doors are shut. So you can't even go in there, even if you're not part of the first or the first batch of people, you can't go in there afterwards. I mean, maybe if people decide to leave and then we let new people in like that, but what are the chances of that happening? And the reason why we tried the reservation system last year with the Hentai Fest is because we didn't want people to wait in line and not be able to get in, which was a problem, right? So if we did a reservation system, then for sure you're going to get in. And even if you come a little later, that's fine. No problem. I guess the only issue would be you would maybe not have the best seating, but you're still going to be able to get in. So the only way literally to jump between 2 popular events is to have a reservation system for each event, and the attendee have a reservation or a ticket for both. And this way you can jump back and forth, but that is literally the only way. If we did this any other way, it will be impossible. So I don't know. What do you think? Yeah. That's a tough one. But there is the way the programming is, there's a lot of activity, and this brings me to the next question here, right? Let me ask. So I'm going to use an example. Now there is studios which we're discussing things with, and one reoccurring question keeps coming up. I can't tell you exactly which studios and what we're talking about, because this involves some shows, anime that we haven't announced yet. And until we make those announcements, we sign NDAs, so I can't. But let me use Wit Studios as an example, right? So Wit Studios, because we already made the announcement from last year, right? Wit Studios coming to Anime Matsuri, and they have a, what is it, like a 60 by 20, 60 by 40 booth in the exhibit hall. And in this booth, they were going to do two major things. So besides the panels and besides the autograph sessions and official store and selling merch and all that, the two shows that they were promoting, right, was Vinland Saga, right? I mean, if you haven't seen Vinland Saga, you should see it. It's amazing. I think it's on Amazon, if I'm not mistaken. And the Asian Magus Bride. These two shows. I think Asian Magus Bride, is that on Crunchyroll? I can't remember. It's on something, right? You can watch it. They're really good shows. Now, they were promoting both these shows for good reasons, which they were going to announce at the convention, right? Now, none of these shows were particularly new. So they're not like new, you know what I mean? But they had reasons for these. Not to mention, they're both popular. And it would have been probably like they haven't taken these shows, brought the producers, and I'm talking about the character designers, the mangaka of the Asian Magus Bride was going to be there. They hadn't done something like this in North America before, so it would have been a treat. It's, like the first time, especially for the fans. So the question is this: now, moving on to 2021, the size of their booth is literally the same as it was in 2020, but now, because it's 1 year later, they have new things they want to bring. However, there is no space in the booth for all the new stuff. They were planning two art exhibitions, really awesome art exhibitions, from the Asian Magus Bride and from Vinland Saga. And their booth was literally divided into two, one for each IP. And they had I think each one had, if I'm not mistaken, 200 pieces of art from each show, all the way around. And you could go in there, and Asian Magus Bride had a big over 7 foot statue of Magus in the middle, and you had, it is really awesome. So I guess we're kind of now in a little bind. What do we do? If we add onto that, which they want to, but that means taking something away. I know sometimes we gotta make these difficult decisions. What do we? Is it what's the best way to do this? What's the best way to prioritize? Do we prioritize an anime because it's new or newer? Or do we prioritize an anime because it's more popular or more loved, even though it's not as new? Look, I know no one wants to be asked this question. I would not like to be asked this question, but the reality is we still have to somewhat make a decision. Because I love the booth the way it was. If it was up to me, I wouldn't change a thing in that booth. It looked so awesome, and and the fact that people hadn't even seen that booth is what, we wanted the attendees to come in there and check it out. But I'm also of course I'm a fan of the new stuff. And if we divide, if we take a booth and divide it from 2 sections to 3 sections or 4 sections, we are decreasing the size of each booth, which means each exhibition, which means each, the pieces of art, and so on and so forth. And it also made sense, though, the way it was. Because just like with Demon Slayer, in Demon Slayer, it was all 26 episodes from the first season. And each episode, there was a section for each episode that described, it had the name of the episode, it had it in English and in Japanese, and a description of it, and it had art from that episode, all the way from 1 all the way to 26. And because these things, just like their seasons, right? The Vinland Saga is a season, and the Ancient Magus Bride is a season. even if you're not familiar with the show, when you walk in there and you just kind of like go from the beginning all the way to the end of the exhibition, you have an idea of how it goes. So if we were to cut that in half, I don't even know how we'd be able to do that. I'm sure there's a way, but it's just, and this thing that I'm saying, it isn't just with studios. It's also for everyone else, because now the studios have new IPs, new products that they want to show. But then the question remains, what are we doing with the ones that we had planned that maybe people were looking forward to, So we don't want to just remove one of the 2020 IPs and say, okay, let's just not have the Asian Magus Bride and let's just put something newer. So again, what do you guys think? I mean, I don't, it's up to you guys. This is, again, these are the difficult questions, difficult things we need to make decisions on. And I know they're based on a lot of things. I understand. And it's also based on what anime. So maybe people can answer better if they knew specifically this versus this, right? But I don't. Sorry, that's my daughter watching her thing. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Well, Marty, okay. So Marty's saying more space for the studio exhibitors, even if it cuts into cosplay, car show, gaming space. Okay, I agree. However, the way our entire exhibit hall is designed, that can only work to a certain extent, because Exhibit Hall B, all of Exhibit Hall B, is the artist alley, right? And it's designed that way with that many booths, and not to mention that almost all of it is already sold out. So if we were to take part of Exhibit Hall B, part of the artist alley, and say, you know what, we'll take a third and just either just remove the tables, I don't know, refund people, or push them up, so you now have less room between the aisles and whatnot. We're a little reluctant to do this, mostly because the reason we moved the artist alley to Exhibit Hall B is so that we can have more room, so we can have more space. The artist alley is popular, people love it, but the one bad thing about it was always too crammed, and people couldn't. It was too much. It was too compact. So we're like, hey, let's spread it out. Let's put it in an entire exhibit hall and give people more room to breathe and more space to walk around. So that's one. Now, if you go on the other side, Exhibit Hall E, where the car show is, right? The way the car show is designed is the car show itself is around the different booths. So you have, Godzilla, and then you have the cafes, At Home Cafe, that's from Japan. You have the Butler Cafe, Swallowtail. Now there is Good Smile Racing, there is Kabukicho, and there is extra booths, which we hadn't even announced yet for 2020. These are 2021 booths being added, right? It makes things a little cramped. So yes, we could take away, out of a total of 80 cars, I think in the car show, we could take away, 20 cars. Let's just say we take away 20 cars. But the problem is, if we take away 20 cars, that's taking 20 cars and making more room in Exhibit Hall E. Something like WIT Studios, MAPPA, all these studios are in Exhibit Hall C. So even if we were to move them, I don't want to create a bigger problem, or trying to solve a problem by creating a bigger problem is what I'm trying to say. I mean, it's possible. Again, it's possible. It depends on how much space, but we just it looks like it just looks like we. I don't want to say. I don't want to say we need more space, because that's a big convention center, but at the same time, we don't want any area of the entire exhibit hall to be too cramped. An idea. So at the corner of exhibit hall E is Kabukicho. This is the 18 plus area. This is, well, it was 100 feet by 100 feet square. And this was all walled off. And to get in there, you had to be 18 or 18 plus, and you would be carded. And in there, you had all the 18 plus vendors. And I guess the advantage of this is now they can now exhibit their stuff without having to cover it up and whatnot, right? Just put them all in there, and it's all just only adults go in there, right? That's a big, I mean, that's 100 by 100 feet is 10,000 square feet. That's, that's a big, and we're getting to the limits of that. I mean, there's people asking us now that they want to be in that area, right? Or a vendor, let's say a vendor that has regular merchandise and has 18 plus merchandise that was planning on putting it all in their exhibitor booth, let's say somewhere in exhibit hall D, now is asking, can he just get an extra booth in Kabukicho and just put all of the 18 plus merch there so it can be displayed more nicely and whatnot, and then have his regular booth in exhibit hall D with just the regular merch. See? So all right. Karima says, this may sound optimistic, but maybe you could work with the studios to use the space that was already provided for them for the new content, find a compromise. Yeah. Well, that's essentially what we're doing right now. But we're still, I mean, this would be a worst case scenario. So worst case scenario would be to reduce the size of each exhibit. That's a worst case. If we can make it bigger, that's the best case. If we can make the booth bigger, that would be the best case scenario. And now it's 50-50, because to make a booth bigger, we have to start moving everything around that booth, right? Because remember, our layout for 2020 was pretty much set, and everybody knew what they were. And all these studios, not just studios, exhibitors, vendors, they're all, around. So we have to, if we start so we can move stuff, maybe we can move stuff. And if people are okay with moving from here to there and create more room for the studios that need more room, then hey, more power, and just it'll be the best case scenario for everybody, because now the attendees can now see more of these exhibitions. You can enjoy more content. There's more anime. And I mean, isn't that the goal? The goal is to have as much anime as possible, right? So Marty is asking, which hall had the gaming space that was underutilized last year? AM booth was a bit large. Vic's line zone was ridiculous. Yeah. Is there any way to leverage? Yes, I know. And last year there was a lot of things that we're testing, and we know we reduced the size. Right? The AM booth is literally half the size of it was last year. This year, again, because we just need the space, right? But yeah, so think about it. For popular events or popular booths or popular guests like Vic, not only do you have to give him a table, because I mean, it's like, okay, yeah, Vic can sit down at an 8 by 2 foot table. But then the line that has to be accounted for. So something like Vic should only be put next to an aisle or next to the wall, so you can have the long line that doesn't bother everybody. Because if we put Vic, like, let's say, I don't know, in the middle of an exhibit hall, then it becomes problematic because the line has to go one way or the other. Now just imagine if you had more popular guests that people wanted to see. The lines are always an issue, and they're more of a problem than actually people can imagine. The gaming, so we didn't really do that much gaming, and I mean, this year the gaming that we're planning is very different, and we're hoping that we can get this deal with Microsoft, which is on the table right now. We're discussing with them, and it's looking good. But the gaming will be cleaner, will be better, nicer, more straightforward. You guys are gonna love it, right? But again, that still is going to take up is not going to take up anywhere as much space as it did last year. But the point is not to make it, or not just do it in such a way where it's not super crowded, right? Or at least make it more comfortable, right? And I just, if this works out with Microsoft, so we're talking about like next gen, right? Next gen gaming, and the fact that these consoles are even a problem to get. But now, it's been a month already. It's kind of worrying, actually. Yeah. Okay. And yeah, we can move gaming upstairs, right? And we discussed that. There's a few things that actually moved upstairs. We took away from the exhibit hall. And again, even upstairs, as it is, we are. How do I explain this? We're getting to the point where the rooms that are allocated to certain things are getting full, because the GRB has a lot of space, but the breakout rooms are all different sizes. Gaming is actually popular, so for gaming, we can't just put gaming in any room upstairs. It has to be one of the bigger breakout rooms. And now 9 out of 10 of them are taken. You see what I'm getting at with this? So if we put gaming in a small room upstairs, the advantage of that is you can keep gaming open. It'll be open till 4 in the morning because it doesn't have to close at the same time as the exhibit hall. But the downside is, because it's in a much smaller room, then it becomes more crowded. It becomes a little more uncomfortable. Not to mention, Microsoft, if Microsoft comes on board, they would like to be in the exhibit hall. Yeah. Whew. Yeah. These are all great ideas. I love reading. I love reading what you guys have to say. Serenity's Otaku Life. Hall B used to be the gaming room, though. Yeah, it's Hall B has nothing to do with gaming anymore. The entire exhibit hall B is the artist alley, and that is going to be one popular exhibit hall. Because you have artists, not just local artists, from Japan, from Malaysia, Singapore. There's artists coming from, and they want to come back. Everyone is waiting for travel restrictions to be removed, which they will be by July. So everybody wants to come back. That's the thing. The thing is, the people want to come back. Now, if, let's say, I don't know, half the artists would say, well, no, we don't want to come back, or something like that, then maybe, right, we can decide and say, okay, let's take some of this hall and do something else with it. But we can't even put as a booth, like a non-artist alley booth, in exhibit hall B, because it's all pretty much full, right? And the goal is not, again, to cramp it down, to move things and make it, all cramped the way it was before. We want to stay away from that. So we don't literally, we're trying to just have a set number of booths in exhibit hall B, and that's it. We don't increase it. It doesn't matter how popular the artist alley gets. We don't want to add more booths in exhibit hall B, because this way the aisles are the same, 10 feet as it is, and it gives people more breathing room, right? It becomes more comfortable. And I think the artists deserve it, because a lot of these artists, they have really awesome stuff. Really awesome. Some of them are super talented, right? But what is the point of all that if you can't even see it? If every time you go there, there's tons of people gathering around their table, and some of them have, they have the backdrops, like the grid wall in the back, which they hide their stuff, which they hang their stuff on, but some of them do not. And I mean, this way, each artist gets a booth, like a 10 by 10 space, and they can use that space. They can hang their stuff or put their stuff up, and you can see it from, you don't have to be next to the table. You can decide where you want to go, right? So anyway, we're doing our best to we've been working on this layout for a month, just adjusting the layout. And I mean, we're almost done. And I said this last week. Last week I said we're almost done. But every time I say we're almost done, it's like something comes up and we need to, move something, or we need to do something that is more complicated than we thought it would be, But, I'm just happy that at least the studios still there. They're still around. First of all, I'm just happy they're still around because, there's some companies that have shut down, and that's not any fun. Every time I hear any company just shutting down because of this pandemic is just bad news. So they're still around. That's great. Now we can just do our best and promote them the best way we can, moving forward. But I'm pretty excited. Pretty excited what they bring. Yeah. 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 So we throughout the year, so since the pandemic started, we didn't do any events. So here's what we did, right? Of course, trying to be safe, trying to make sure our staff is safe, and we're all comfortable moving forward. We weren't even sure. Nobody knew what was going on, right? We were hearing different stories every day, and we didn't know. And when you don't know, you just try to be sort of conservative, right, about everything. Good Smile Racing, when the car arrived here, the car that was supposed to be here for Anime Matsuri, their championship car, really awesome, had Miku on it, and then we had all the merchandise from them. And it was a pity that we had all that here, and we wanted to invite as many people as possible to at least come and check it out, right? And we did. So we did a thing, and we did a schedule, and we scheduled like X amount of people at every 2 hours and whatnot, and that filled up really fast. So if you're lucky enough to come to HQ and check out the merchandise, check out the display, check out the car, everything, then you're lucky. Now, I wish we could have done that for everybody, but the car was only here, for a certain amount of time, and then we had to send it back. So we did that, right? And then we did the Weeb Stop, which was like a month ago or so. And after that, we did Kinokuniya, right? And again, Kinokuniya asked us to help them with this event, and we've been going back and forth for a while. Many people asked us to actually go to, when we had the car here, so the Good Smile Racing car and all the merch, people asked us to actually go to on-site event, like somewhere else, take them. And honestly, we declined all of the invitations because we weren't sure. We were Jocelyn. You're too loud. Sorry, that's my daughter singing. And yes, so we didn't go. We didn't take the car or the merch because we weren't sure. We just basically, like a month ago, we went to the Weeb Stop, and we did Kinokuniya, and those two were outside. And there was a bunch of people, and when people came, people were so happy. People said things like, "Oh, I've been stuck at home all this time. Thank God, at least I've come out. I'm happy to see people and and whatnot." And people, I just have a feeling, come July of 2021, there's going to be a lot of people, a lot. There's going to be a lot of people because I can't even, it's hard to imagine going that long without hanging out with your friends or seeing cosplay, going to conventions, or doing the things that you love to do. Now, me particularly, I'm lucky because, as you can see behind me, there's this stuff from there's Toho. We have stuff. I'm surrounded by all these things that were sent here for the event. So I can get my fix just looking at, Godzilla, Hatsune Miku, looking at just all this, being surrounded by this cool stuff, right? But I miss the people, right? I miss seeing cosplay. I miss people expressing themselves, the artists. And yes, we had artists, and we did all the online stuff on AM Connect with artists, and it was amazing. I enjoyed every one of them. Just seeing, and you could see how talented these artists really are, and all the things that they're, that they prepared or they're preparing. And this was amazing to see that. So I guess what I'm trying to say is, come next year, next summer, I think it's going to be a lot of people. So we have to prepare, no matter how you look at this, we have to prepare for a lot of people going, which means how we space everything out, how we do the programming, because we want people to be comfortable. That's the point. It's Anime Matsuri after literally 2 years since the last Anime Matsuri, right? So it has to be special. And again, this goes for everyone else: artists, guests, exhibitors, everyone, right? So this is where we're trying our best here. And yes, everyone that has supported us, we really, really appreciate it. Yes, it's been a very hard year for everybody, everyone. And we feel very lucky, lucky that at least we can still have these conversations. We can still have this live stream, and we are putting things together as we're moving forward. We can look forward to something, we can look forward to seeing what Wit Studios has to bring and what the guests are going to do, and which guests are coming, and the concerts and the events. At least we have something to look forward to be, I understand not everybody's so lucky. Some businesses have had to shut down, but and it's pretty sad. But at least we are, we're moving forward. So thank you for all your support. More security. Yeah, I agree. Jordan Garcia is asking, as of right now, what guests will be coming? So, almost every guest that we announced for 2020 will be coming to 2021. Almost every guest. Now we have to, again, the ones that, and again, I don't know. So if there's any guest that, because we have to go down the list and confirm with each guest. Now some guests are very straightforward. Yes, no problem. See you in 2021. Some guests that are tied to different IPs. And I explained, I used the same example, and I keep going back to this. Demon Slayer. Right? So for Demon Slayer, the idea of the Demon Slayer booth was to promote the Demon Slayer movie. And even from Demon Slayer, whatever guests were going to be, which we hadn't even announced yet, was specifically for that. But now, in 2021, since they're not promoting the movie anymore, because the movie would have been out yet. The movie's already out right now. And by July, everyone would have seen the movie. So they're not promoting that anymore, right? We have to figure out how that's going to affect what they're going to do and the guests they're going to bring. So the guests that are not, or that haven't confirmed yet, have something to do with that, right? They're tied to something else, and we're trying to figure out how or what's being promoted, and if the studio or the company still wants them to come. Does that make sense? Okay. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, we are almost, it's been an hour. We are almost, have a couple more things to add. But yeah, now, I see Karima saying, he's talking about the second floor, right? Which I guess this goes back to the space needed. The second floor. Yes, the second floor could be utilized. However, the second floor, yes, they only has offices, so it's just open space. It doesn't have any breakout rooms. That's number one. But number two, which is the most important part, is the second floor serves as a long, it's almost like a walkway between the garage, right? So the actual parking garage for the convention center or the Hilton, right? And the Sky Bridge to the Hilton and the Sky Bridge to the Marriott. So when we did if you remember correctly, when we did the Evangelion exhibition on the second floor back in 2018, the one problem we had was if we completely blocked off that area, it means if somebody couldn't walk through there, they would have had to go either down and then come up again, or they would, just to go around that, either you'd have to go to the third floor or the first floor, which was kind of a pain. Because I remember the convention center didn't want us to do that for that reason. Like, well, if you're going to block traffic, it means people can't get from, point A to point B without going through the actual convention, right? So they have to go downstairs or they have to go upstairs, which means we had to design the escalators in a certain way. And anyway, but again, it could be done. Yes, JD. Yes, the Hilton Hotel. Yes, I know. Many people have been asking this. We're almost there. It's almost there. You will have that very, very soon. The Marriott is done. We're just waiting for the Hilton, and then we're going to announce both hotels. Probably 4 hotels in one announcement. So just hang in there. We're almost there. And just wait until we make the announcements so you can start booking rooms. We would prefer if you book the rooms using the link, because that makes sure that you are in the Anime Matsuri block, and that's really awesome. Okay, Jordan Garcia, will people whose panel got accepted still have a spot for 2021, or will they have to reapply? If so, does that mean for panels that got accepted but no longer want to hold said panel? Or if so, what does that mean for panels that got accepted but no longer want to host said panel? Exactly. Now, just because of that, the programming is going to go down the list and is going to confirm with each person. So if you sent in a panel and you got accepted and you don't want to host the panel, or you can't host the panel if in the new spot or in the new part of the schedule, if it had to be moved, then you have, there's an option of just canceling the panel altogether. The emails are going to go out pretty soon. We're just taking things that different things, steps at a time, so we don't get overwhelmed. But the emails are going to go out to for programming for all the panelists. Not to mention open, start focusing on panels and start accepting and getting the programming, the schedule finalized. Okay, guys, that's it for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. And as usual, you can find me, or you can find Denise, any of us, the staff, in the Anime Matsuri official group, on Twitter, by email. And we'll see you guys next Thursday. Good night. What?